Stefan! Stefan, you cannot do this.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Well, Conrad, what is it?
Item 3 on the agenda.
Which one is that?
To close down immediately McGuffey's and 6 other engineering works.
What of it?
Some of these firms have been supplying tunnies for 100 years.
Then they have been lucky.
Well, you cannot shut them overnight.
Why not? We have acquired a controlling interest in all of them.
Oh, so you bought them to kill them?
Uh-huh. As soon as I was ready to go into production and take over the other markets. It will be more economical in the long run to make our own parts and to supply our competitors at our own price.
In the long run, perhaps, but to do it suddenly like this without warning.
To attack suddenly without warning is the essence of sound tactics.
And the thousands of men who'll be thrown out of work?
No, redundancy pay, national insurance. They won't starve.
For some of these skilled men who've been earning 35 to 40 pounds a week, there'll be real hardship.
Hardship? Compared with what we knew in Poland? You've grown soft, Conrad. Item 3 will go before the board. The board will accept it.
I don't know why I stay with you.
Because without me, you would be nothing.
Stefan.
Yeah?
You think you are invulnerable. No man is. One day, someone is going to...
Yeah?
Good morning, Stravinsky.
Lord Griffin.
Anyone else here?
You are the first, sir.
Is Pastic in his office?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Pastic, I gather I'm the first arrival.
Uh-huh. You've time for a drink?
Thank
Sherry?
you. Thanks.
There we are.
Thanks. Now, won't you join me?
Not now, thank you. After the meeting, perhaps.
We may not be on those terms after the meeting.
Item 3?
I'm not saying it isn't sound business in the long run. But for heaven's sakes, phase the shutdowns over a couple of years. Give them a chance.
No.
Why not?
Do it my way. We create a vacuum which only tunnies can fill. Phase it, we lose that advantage.
Not necessarily.
It's an undesirable risk.
It's undesirable labor relations. And that is damn bad public relations. It stinks.
People forget.
Not as easily as that. Until 15 years ago, tunnies was an old-fashioned English family business where people counted as much as balance sheets.
It was on the rocks. Now, if Charles Tunney hadn't come to me, if Pastic Holdings hadn't stepped in, if I hadn't taken personal control...
Yes, I know all that. Perhaps Charles had lost his grip at that time.
Perhaps I do need a drink.
But all the same, if you're determined to force it through...
Force it through?
A majority of the board are your nominees.
There are 9 independent directors, including yourself and 2 members of the Tunney family. Now, if you 3 can carry the rest of the board, good luck to you.
You know damn well we can't.
Then you must accept the majority decision.
I've accepted too many in the past. And if this motion is carried, you'll have my resignation after the meeting.
Now, that will find another title figurehead, if we need one.
And if Charles Tunney resigns too? And young Jim?
Good morning, sir.
Jim, what do you think about it?
Item 3.
Exactly.
I shall oppose it, of course.
How far? As far as resignation?
That would suit you, wouldn't it?
It's a matter of indifference to me. Now, come along in, if you can face the meeting without a drink. Good morning. 5 minutes, gentlemen.
Why the hell should I resign?
Nobody can make you.
This is still Tunney's, isn't it?
In name.
Things can change.
They won't if no one stands up to him.
Stand up to him by resigning?
Well, there are other things one can do.
Yes?
Convene a special meeting of shareholders.
Oh, that.
For a start. Presumably your father thinks the same.
Well, obviously, it's our name that's going to stink. But, Father won't be here this morning.
Oh? Why not?
He has another meeting which he finds more important. The committee of the Bach Choir. Oh, we'd better go now, I suppose.
I see Tunney's was well up at the close.
Hello, Gamble. Yes, nice little gain. Have a drink.
No, thanks, I've got one.
Oh,
You've caused quite a sensation, haven't you?
me?
The leader writers screaming for your blood. City editors full of reluctant admiration for your coup.
Well, not mine, my dear fellow. I wasn't even at the board meeting.
And why not, may I ask?
Oh, hello, George. Do you know Gamble?
Yes, of course.
Hello, sir.
Oh, and my son, Jim?
Yes, we've met.
Well, what about a rubber then?
Charles, you haven't answered the question. Why did you cut that meeting?
Quoi, more rewarding.
Not good enough.
Oh, what could I have done?
Well, I resigned.
Noble gesture. I would have cared if I had.
A lot of people. The name Tunney still means something.
Does it?
Surely. How many generations is it? 3 or 4?
Well, it's 5 if you count Jim.
Oh, don't count me. I'm only the boy. Gin and tonic for Lord Griffin and a double scotch for me. Now, if you want to see the man who really counts at the moment, go into the television room in a few minutes.
Is Pastig on?
What's he doing? News interview?
No, he's appealing for his precious refugees.
Oh, well, give the devil his due. He may be a hard man of business and a menace in the boardroom, but he does great work for that charity of his.
Yes. How long has it been going on?
It is in Europe so many years after the German surrender. But it is not only war which creates this ghastly human problem. War is the continuation of politics by other means, and politics are always with us. So, there is still a steady trickle, if not a flood, moving west between the Baltic and the Mediterranean. Now, this is a typical camp in Austria, where the remaining war refugees have been joined by the Hungarian exiles of '56, and by later arrivals from Greece, Poland, Bulgaria, and lately from Czechoslovakia. And this is important. We who support Christian assistance for the displaced in Europe are not concerned with the political attitude of any particular country, only with individual human distress. As Christians, or for that matter as Jews or Muslims or humanists or simply men and women of goodwill, is it not our duty and privilege to do what we can to alleviate human suffering in our own continent? Is it not our...
Well, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to hear a bit of that appeal.
Pastek?
Well, I don't do business with him. I happen to like him.
Why not? Meet him at the club, dine with him. He's a good fellow.
A dear, sweet man.
No, don't overdo it.
I only hope he won't.
If he hasn't already.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yes, I'm sure I will.
And in 1945, when you won the war but lost Poland, and how you or your fathers and mothers felt guilty about it. But I was lucky, because I had fought in General Anders' Polish Corps, and for me, along with thousands of others, it was made comparatively easy to enter this country. We had lost all our possessions, but we became British citizens and managed to make a living for ourselves.
A living. A fortune. I worked for it. I fought for it. You worked. You fought. You made enemies. Even your old friends are no longer interested.
A new life in a new country. But which country? Where can they go? In Western Europe, North America, Australasia, there are now strict laws controlling immigration. Meanwhile, men, women, and children continue to rot in refugee camps, and we do nothing. Won't you do something? Won't you send a donation, however small, to CAID, Christian Assistance for the Displaced in Europe? Send cash, check, or postal order to Mrs. Stefan Pastek, Christian Assistance for the Displaced in Europe.
Congratulations, Stefan. A good appeal. You've chosen a bad day for it.
Oh, I didn't choose it.
Well, you convinced me, anyway.
Not him, evidently.
No, nor Conrad.
Ah, Conrad. Well, he's angry with me just now. He's afraid that one day I will go too far.
Well, you're not exactly popular at the moment.
But in a year or two, when the value of their holdings has doubled again, and people have forgotten how it was done.
There we are.
Ah, thank you very much.
This charity business of yours, is it a sop to your conscience?
No, I have no conscience about what I do in business. Business is a continuation of war by other means.
Even war has rules.
Sure, and I never break the rules.
Never?
If I did, I wouldn't let myself be found out. Now, John, if you are not ashamed to be seen with me, let us split a bottle, huh? And tell each other how clever we are.
What do you make of it?
A crude attempt to smear Pastek.
His name isn't mentioned.
Well, everyone knows that his wife runs CAID and that he's one of the chief benefactors. If it gets around that the police are investigating this charity, that's enough.
And if it's true that the funds are being misapplied?
It's properly registered, its accounts are audited each year and approved by the charity commissioners.
Yes, but according to this letter, only a fraction of the revenue is actually being used to help refugees.
Anonymous libel. Forget it. Tear it up.
Well, if it had been addressed to me, I might have done. It was sent to the chief constable, and he insists on following it up.
I can tell you why.
Never mind. If we ignore it, whoever wrote it will get onto the charity commissioners, and they'll want to know why we've done nothing about it.
Is that the real reason?
What do you mean?
Well, the chief constable's daughter is married to the Lord Lieutenant, and the Lord Lieutenant is an old chum of Lord Griffin. And Lord Griffin is gunning for Stefan Pastek.
Would you like to put that in writing?
No, sir.
Saying that Lord Griffin wrote this letter?
I haven't got a clue who wrote it. All I know is there are plenty of people out to get Pastek.
Yes, well... Divisional CID will do what they can to trace the letter. Paper, typewriter, and so on, but they haven't much help.
No.
Meanwhile, you take it from there.
Not me, sir.
Why not?
I know Pastek and I know his wife, sir. I like them both.
They're not relations?
No.
Not even intimate friends?
I know them.
As acquaintances?
If you like.
Just as you know half the con men in the business.
That's not the same, sir.
It is to me.
Look, I'm asking you to put someone else on the case.
And I've no one else available.
Look,
no one of your experience.
Look, it's only a routine investigation of a highly unlikely tip.
Well, if that's all it is, what are you afraid of?
I didn't say I was afraid.
But you are. Afraid of what might turn up.
If there is anything to turn up, I'd rather somebody else do it.
Now, look, Gamble. I don't care how many drinks you've had with Pastek in that damn club of yours. I don't care if it is bad form for a gentleman to snoop on fellow members. As far as I'm concerned, you're not a gentleman, you're a policeman.
Very good, sir. I'd like a personal call to Mr. Treadgold of Mitchell and Tickle. Yeah. Yeah, well, if he's not available, find out when he will be, will you? Right, thanks.
Who's that?
Cade's accountants. Also Pastek's.
I'm sorry.
What for? It's a purely routine check. They'd never be involved in a fiddle.
I mean, I'm sorry that Proud insists on you handling the case.
Ah, well, don't be. He was right. But I want you to do the first piece of dirty work.
Huh? What's that?
Go round to the Cade offices and have a word with Annie Pastek.
Annie? That's not a Polish name, is it?
No, she's a Scots. They met in '46, I think. There was a big immigration of the Polish Corps just after the war from Italy to Scotland.
So he married her and lived happily ever after.
Happily, as far as anyone can tell. Oh, and by the way, don't let her know you're a cop.
How long have you been running this charity, Mrs. Pastek?
Running it? Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not an autocrat. We have trustees and a committee, you know.
But you're the full-time organizer.
That's right.
And unpaid.
My husband's a very rich man.
Yes, so I've been told.
Mind you, he's worked for it. Ever since the war, when he lost everything, he's never stopped working. Not like... Thank you.
Not like who?
There are some people, especially English people, who think the world owes them a living.
Yes, I suppose there are. But if I can get back to you, Mrs. Pastek, why did you start working here?
Why does any middle-aged woman want something to do? Stefan and I have no children.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's always been a sorrow to us. If I'd had a family, perhaps. But I didn't. All I had was a house full of servants and a man who works and works and works. So I decided it was time for me to work, too. Sit you down.
Yes, I can understand that only too well. But why this type of work?
Well, Stefan had always concerned himself with the exiles of Europe. He'd always done what he could. And then in World Refugee Year, when was it? 8 or 9 years ago, we visited some of the camps. The things we saw, the people we met, would have broken your heart. You should write about them in your paper, Miss Hicks, not about me.
Yes, yes. But was it as a result of this visit to the camps that you started the charity?
No, it already existed. But at that time, it was simply a trust set up to administer one bequest. The trustees were all busy men, so they were delighted to have someone to take the donkey work off them. Once they knew I was able for it, of course, and they could trust me.
And could increase the revenue, too.
Mm-hmm. I'll not deny we've done well. We've had some magnificent donations, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. Of course, if it hadn't been for some of Stefan's business acquaintances, we'd never have been able to extend as we have.
Amongst the individual donations, there's been 3 really big contributors.
Yes?
A man called Bellingham. Over the last 3 years, he's given a total of £75,000.
Bellingham, the property man?
Yes.
Well, he's not all he might be, but so far he's kept clear of trouble. He wouldn't give a halfpenny to save his starving grandmother unless he got a penny back in interest.
So I gather.
Who else?
Mr. I.H. Rickards. 50,000 spread over the same period.
I don't know him.
Well, I still have to do a thorough check, but at the moment it looks as if he's got much the same reputation as Bellingham.
Yes. Well, that's it then.
Looks like it.
And Pastek?
Yes, I'm sorry.
How much?
30,000. A gift of 10,000 each year for the last 3 years.
Well, we all know he's a hard businessman, but at this stage there's no need to bracket his name with Bellingham and Rickards. Tell me, how are the charity funds allocated?
Oh, well, it used to be a fairly piecemeal business, but again, in the last 3 years, they've had their own office and distribution centre in Geneva.
Do you fancy a little holiday, Hicks?
Geneva? Can you swing it?
I can try. Come on. I want you to complete that check on Rickards. And when you get back, I might have some good news for you. Wish me luck?
I do.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Gamble. What can I do for you? Authorized travel and subsistence allowances for Sergeant Hicks and myself, sir. Where were you thinking of going? Geneva, Switzerland. You'd better make it a good story. Well, it's this charity case, sir. There might have been something in that letter after all. But Cade is being defrauded and used as a channel for a currency racket. Where's your evidence? Bellingham, eh? Now, wasn't he mixed up in that Conroy business? And how? Yes. Well, this is an indication. Can you prove it? Not without going to Europe, sir. I thought you wanted to avoid muckraking. I didn't want to start it because I didn't want to know. But now I do know. What's made you change your mind? £150,000 stolen from refugees. I want to know where it is. And Pastek? Is he still a friend of yours? I'll let you know when I get back, sir. Rickards as well, eh? Mm-hmm. Geneva, did you say? Yes, sir.
It's the buzz.
The what?
Oh, sorry, Carl. The policeman from England.
Already? They waste no time.
Inspector Gamble, his name is, and he's brought a girl with him.
A wise man, combining business with pleasure.
I wouldn't know. It's a female cop, name of Hicks.
Oh, you made them welcome, I hope.
I fell over backwards. Don't worry, I know the form.
All right, Unity, bring them in.
Won't you come in? Here, Schiller is free now.
Miss Hicks, Mr. Gamble, welcome to Geneva.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry I've been kept waiting.
No, we haven't.
Miss Charlton should have brought you in the moment you arrived. Unity, bring some coffee for our visitors. Oh, no, it is too late. Aperitifs.
No, thanks. Not for me.
No, thank you.
You are a busy man, no time for the sociabilities. Very well, then. To business. We are quite ready for you.
You were expecting us?
Oh, naturally. Madame Pastek has told us you have been making inquiries.
Ah, yes, of course.
And you can imagine how I was distressed.
I dare say.
But then I tell myself, there is always someone ready to cast a stone of suspicion, even at the noblest institution.
A very philosophical attitude, Herr Schiller. Do I take it, then, that you are willing to cooperate?
To the full.
And you appreciate that I have no legal standing here?
It is my only wish that you prove all suspicions false.
Therefore, you won't mind my going through all your books?
Not at all. All accounts, bank statements, records, everything. Unity, tell Herr Frankel he is to put himself entirely at Mr. Gamble's disposal.
Very well, Herr Schiller.
Herr Frankel is my clerk. Anything he cannot tell you, please don't hesitate to call upon me.
Thank you.
Frankel, komm herein. Hier ist Herr Gamble. Er will unsere Geschäftsbücher revidieren. Bitte ihm alles, was er sehen will, zeigen, ja? I've just told him that you wish to make an audit of our accounts, and everything you wish to see he is to show you.
Yes. Yes, well, you won't be far away, will you, Herr Schiller?
If you wish it.
Inspector Gamble's stable for work, isn't he?
Says he'll finish today.
Has he found anything? Or shouldn't I ask?
I don't think so.
Oh, I hope not. It would have been a rotten thing for him to do, swindle those wretched refugees.
Schiller, you mean?
Well, of course, he handles all the accounts himself. Old Frankel's just a stooge.
How long have you been working here?
Oh, only 3 weeks.
Oh, so you don't really know Herr Schiller.
Only as a boss. What happens if you don't find anything? Will you just give up and go home? Or while you're at it, will you take a look at some of the camps and see the receiving end of our work?
That might be a very good idea.
Ah, there you are. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Good lunch?
Okay. Have you had any?
Enough. When you finish, we'll get moving.
Where to?
Well, I thought we'd pack, and then to save time, we'll split up and work independently.
Where are we going?
Well, as we've gone so far, we might as well do the job properly and visit some of the camps.
It's funny. It's just what Miss Charlton was suggesting.
Indeed. Was she?
Oh, great minds, they say, don't they?
Yes, they do. Ready?
Yes, I'll just pay my bill.
No, this is mine. Passons, la décision, s'il vous plaît.
And?
They're going round the camps.
I know.
Do you think they'll spot him?
Oh, surely. He's no fool, this fuzzman.
No. Well, in that case, I think a couple of telephone calls to England.
I've already asked for the numbers.
Oui. Oui, j'attends.
My darling, what is it? I came as soon as I got your message.
Stefan, you're so good, I shouldn't have disturbed you.
Oh, anytime you need me, foolish one. Now, what is the trouble? You're not ill?
No, but I'm terribly worried. I've had a phone call from Geneva, from Schiller's secretary.
Yes?
Mr. Gamble's out there.
Gamble?
Yes, he's been through the accounts and now he's visiting the camps.
But why? There's never been a hint of anything. Is it Schiller he suspects?
Don't know. I suppose it must be.
Schiller? It is true if he wanted to, he's in a position to divert funds. Annie, when you first took him in, what sort of references did he have?
Oh, they were impeccable.
Did you ever check back on them?
No. Never occurred to me that... Oh, Stefan.
Oh, my dear girl, you must not worry so. Probably there is nothing wrong at all. Even if there is, no one can blame you.
I'm not thinking of myself, it's you.
Me?
Yes, everyone links you with Cade. If there's a scandal, there's plenty of people who'll jump at the chance to blacken your name.
They can try. Now, this man Schiller, how long has he been with you?
3 years. You remember, dear, it was when the donations were growing so fast. We decided we should have our own distribution center in Europe.
Whose idea was that?
Yours.
Oh?
And then Karl Schiller turned up with a complete plan for running the center with a minimum of overheads.
What do you know of his history and background?
Well, only what he told me himself. He said he was a refugee from East Germany, that he was a qualified accountant, that he decided to devote his life to people less fortunate than himself. But it may be all lies. Oh, I should have checked, Stefan, and double-checked.
No, my darling. You mustn't blame yourself. Perhaps it was true. All this will turn out to be nothing.
I wish I could believe it. I can't see John Gamble traipsing round Europe on a wild goose chase.
No. Annie, where did Schiller come from? Did he answer an advertisement, or was he introduced?
He was introduced. Don't you remember, darling, by one of your business friends?
No, not the university. No, just the county.
I think...
Is it you that we have to congratulate, sir?
Because I've collected enough signatures for a special meeting of shareholders, yes.
Have you? Oh, is that wise?
Why not?
Well, what's done is done. There's no doubt it will benefit us in the long run, but no, I wasn't thinking about that. I meant, do we have to thank you for putting the police onto Paztek?
Police? Me?
Your friend, the chief constable. Oh, someone must have tipped him off.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the fraud squad. They're probing that charity of his.
I don't believe it.
Well, I hope not.
But why? I can't believe there's any dirty work there.
Yes, well, maybe not, but I hear that Annie Pastek's in a panic. Of course, there may be nothing to it. You know how these rumors get around.
What particular rumor in this case?
That, Cade is being used as a cover for illegal sterling exports.
But it isn't illegal for a registered charity to export its donations.
No, not if the money's going where it's meant to, but if it's being salted away in private accounts.
Oh, nonsense. For heaven's sake, be careful what you're saying, boy.
Well, among friends, as Lord Griffin says, there probably isn't anything to it. Ah, there's someone who should know. Conrad, could you spare a minute?
Jim, don't be a fool.
Yes? I wonder if you could throw any light on these rumors.
I don't know. What rumors?
That the refugees of Europe are being diddled out of half their aid by so-called Christians who are handing it out.
No. Oh, my God. Who told you this?
It's true, then?
No. I don't know. Oh, it can't be true.
Well, we shall just have to wait and see. We shall know one way or another when those coppers have stopped swanning around Europe.
Yes, I've been through them with a fine-tooth comb. It's the same miserable story here. Well, I am depressed. You realize what it'll mean to these people when this gets out? All right. We'll talk about it when we get back to Geneva tomorrow. Bye.
Miss Hicks? I'm sorry. I've neglected you for so long.
I quite understand.
Those new arrivals you were watching out there, like all of them, they're always a little confused.
Yes, I can imagine.
Takes time for them to settle in.
I didn't know it was like this.
Eh, mon Dieu, oui. Those are forgotten people. Hello, you finished with our account?
Yes, thank you, Sister Louise. I'm sorry to have interrupted your work.
Oh, do not feel guilty. There is too much guilt in the world. I have my work, you have yours.
I'm not very proud of mine at the moment.
Oh, but why? You wish to see if you can find little ways to make economies? This is very sensible, is it not?
Yes, yes, of course.
And have our books told you that we are efficient?
They're very well kept.
Oh, we are practical people. This is not the work of sentimental self-indulgence. It is a practical work concerned with food and clothes and medicine. If we are not practical, money is wasted. And then all those generous people who give money to us will stop giving. Is this not true?
Yes, Sister Louise. It's very true.
Alors, let us pray that this will never happen.
Well, you've been bursting to say it ever since you got back. Now say it.
What is there to say? You saw for yourself.
There are worse sights in the Middle East, in Vietnam, Biafra.
Does that make these any better?
No. But the fact remains there are discrepancies between Schiller's accounts and the accounts in the field.
Not very large.
Not very large in any one place, any one time, but spread over them all over a period of 3 years, they add up.
How much?
Enough to cover private deposits for 2 or 3 patriotic English citizens who had the bright idea of shifting some of their capital out of sterling to avoid taxes.
Even if you're right.
I am.
You can't prove it without proving that the bank statements Schiller showed you are forgeries.
They must be.
And that he siphoned off 150,000 odd into private accounts in the names of Bellingham, Rickards, and so on.
Well, there's no need to be tactful. Bellingham, Rickards, and Pastek.
But to prove any of it, you'll have to get the Swiss police to look into private bank accounts.
Which they are more than reluctant to do. So?
So drop it.
I thought you might say that.
Look, supposing these people have fiddled the currency laws. If they hadn't been offered this chance, they'd never have given money to the charity in the first place. So the refugees are no worse off than they would have been if the racket had never existed. If you blow it, the charity will be finished and it will reflect badly on every other charity. In the end, it's the people out there who suffer.
For a short time, perhaps. People forget.
Even for a short time. Look, the currency fiddlers won't try it again. Not this way.
No, probably not.
So why can't you drop it? You didn't have to take it this far.
Bring your drink. We'll go and eat.
All right, you won't drop it. But you can't count on the Swiss police to look into private bank accounts. So what can you do about it?
Nothing.
What?
I'm going to do nothing. Hasn't it struck you there's something wrong somewhere? How everything's been laid on the line for us?
Is it?
Well, think about it. First there was the anonymous letter, and then the welcome here. Now, most organizations, even the most innocuous, resent snoopers. But Schiller positively welcomed us.
You'd been told we were coming.
Obviously. And not by Annie Pastek, as he claimed. She didn't know.
Didn't she?
No, and then there's your chum Unity. Now, didn't she suggest that we go and look at some of the camps, just in case we didn't think of it for ourselves?
Yes, she did. So?
Well, there's more to this than just a straight fiddle. Someone, whoever tipped off the chief constable, knew what had been happening and wanted it exposed.
It's possible.
It's more than possible. I think that someone rigged this whole situation from the beginning, starting 3 years ago when Schiller got in on the act.
But even if you're right, what can you do about it?
Go back to England and wait. Wait for that someone to make the next move. And whoever he is, he must be feeling pretty confident by now. Oh. What do we fancy? Garçon? Yeah. Okay, Ronnie, thanks. Goodbye. Ah, Miss Chartham. What can I do for you?
Wrong way round, Inspector. It's what I can do for you. Thank you.
Well?
You're right about Carl Schiller. He is a crook.
Did I ever suggest that I thought that?
No, but it was obvious what you were after.
And what makes you think I was right?
Well, he's walked out, left the country. But he left these behind.
What are they?
A different version of the accounts. The ones you were shown were fiddles and forgeries.
Where did you get them?
Schiller's safe.
He left them behind?
Yes.
And the key to his safe?
Oh, there was a duplicate. He must have forgotten it.
A remarkably careless crook.
Well, I suppose he didn't care what happened once he got away.
Do you? Why didn't you hand all these over to the police in Geneva?
Well, I knew that you were making inquiries, and it is an English charity.
Yes, thank you, Miss Chartham. I take it you'll be going straight back?
Back?
To Geneva. If Schiller's left, someone must be in charge.
Oh, Frankel's holding the fort. Well, I'm not going back, not after this. Well, after all, I was only there as Schiller's secretary.
Yes, it didn't last long, did it, that
No.
job?
I must have chosen the wrong man at the wrong moment.
When you say chosen, Miss Chartham, how did you actually get the job? Was it an introduction, or did you know Schiller before?
I answered an advertisement in the Times.
You did? I see. And you'll be prepared to sign a formal statement along the lines of what you've just told me?
Of course. I'll be staying at the Cornwall for the next few days.
Good. Then if there's nothing else you want to tell me...
Not that I can think of.
In that case, goodbye. I'll send for you if I want you.
Any time.
Sergeant Hicks will see you, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to Foxy, please. Oh, Foxy, there's a girl just left the building, Unity Chartham. Follow her. I want to know where she goes and who she sees. Huh? Yeah, well, you can call him when you can. Yeah, I'll arrange for a relief if necessary. Right, thanks.
That was a strange performance.
Yes, the whole thing's amateur. Elaborate, but amateur. And I think it's going to work.
And Pastek?
I'm pretty sure the whole object is to get him. Look, bank statements and transfer slips showing funds transferred from the charity's account to 3 private accounts. In the names of Bellingham, Rickards, and Pastek.
Well, you would go on with it.
Yes. Look, for what it's worth, ring Interpol and give them a description of Schiller, will you? And then check the back numbers of the Times, just in case there really was an advertisement for that girl to answer.
Well, where will you be?
I'm going to see Annie Pastek.
It's nothing to do with Stefan. None of it.
None of it?
No. He helps when he can, he makes appeals, and he's very generous, but that's all.
Think again.
It's true. You know how hard he works. He hasn't time to do more.
It doesn't take much time to write a check.
Oh, that. He makes donations, of course, very generous ones.
You do know what it is that's been happening?
I think so. I didn't at first, but Stefan spotted it.
He did?
Yes. When he saw Bellingham's name on the list of donations, and Rickard's. He knows them. He says they've been using us to make illegal sterling deposits in Switzerland.
He's right. And, were they the only two?
We couldn't find any other likely ones. They were the only two who'd made big private donations.
Apart from Stefan himself?
Oh, yes, apart from him, of course.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Pastek.
What for?
Well, there was a time when I could have dropped this whole thing, let you and Stefan off the hook. But now it's too late.
You've nothing to be sorry for. It's your job to expose fraud. As for us, I dare say there'll be suspicion, perhaps scandal. We can live it down. We haven't done anything wrong.
No, I'm sure you haven't. Oh, just one last thing. Who first recommended Schiller to you? Which one of Stefan's friends?
How did you know?
It had to be. Lord Griffin? Conrad Stavinsky? Young Tunney?
His father, as a matter of fact. Charles Tunney.
Charles, darling, you look younger every time I see you.
I told you not to do it.
Look, Father, it was you who found Schiller, and it was you who told him to contact Bellingham and Rickard.
Yes, but I never...
You set the whole thing up. No one else did. Just you.
And you set it up beautifully, darling.
You be quiet.
Charles.
All I wanted was something to give me a hold over Stefan, just for once to put me in a position of power. I never meant it to go as far as this.
Oh, highly self-indulgent. All that to give you a private moment of triumph. Well, I've got bigger ideas. I'm thinking of my generation and the next. My children are going to run Tunney's themselves, without any goddamn Polak on my back.
Ah, you're an idiot, Jim. So is Unity. If you think you can fool a man like Gamble once he gets going...
Oh, but Charles, my sweet, we have. We already have, and I've been paid for it.
Well, I hope you're successful, for your sake. But if you're not, don't try to drag me into it. I had nothing to do with it.
You're too modest, old man. It was your genius that thought the whole thing up.
I introduced Schiller to the charity. That's all. If he turns out 3 years later to have been a crook, well, I was fooled. So was Annie Pastek and her committee. We were all gullible, but that's not a crime. Since then, I've done nothing.
You never do.
But sending Unity out, planting the evidence on Gamble, spreading rumors, trying to ruin Stefan. That's all you're doing. And when the police get to the bottom of it, don't try to involve me. Nobody can prove anything, and I shall deny it flatly. Goodbye.
Poor old fella. No guts. Never had.
Yes, I'll tell him when he comes in. Okay, thanks. Bye. It was Foxy.
Yes?
Unity Charlton went back to her hotel from here and then later on to Jim Tunney's flat.
To Jim's? Not the old man's?
No, but he arrived soon after.
Ah.
He stayed about 10 minutes and then left. In a bit of a state, Foxy thought.
Yes, he's got every reason to be.
Unity stayed most of the evening, but I don't think she's Jim's girlfriend, do you?
No, highly unlikely. She's probably just a hired help.
Oh, how did you get on with Mrs. Pastek?
Well, she's blissfully ignorant. It's never even occurred to her that Stefan could be mixed up in the currency racket, too.
Well, why should it? I mean, he wouldn't tell her that he was defrauding her own pet charity, would he?
No, you're right. But I still can't believe that such a thing could even occur to him. Look, ring his office. Tell him I'm on my way. If he's got any other appointments, tell him he must cancel them. Look, I've got to talk to him and it can't wait, right?
Now, we won't be disturbed. Help yourself.
Thanks.
I'll make it as quick as I can, Stefan. And, by the way, this is off the record.
About Ked?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Annie told me. You can't blame her. It was all the Swiss end.
Yes, I know.
What I don't understand is how you ever got onto it.
A tip-off. Anonymous.
Hmm.
Tell me, Stefan, why do the Tunnies hate you?
Do they? Young Jim, perhaps? I thought Charles had learned to live with it.
With what?
The resentment which failure feels for success, idleness for energy, the passive for the active. Even back in '44, when we first met, it was the same.
In Italy?
Uh-huh, in those terrible mountains above Casino. We were the same age, Charles and I. But I was a colonel on General Lander's staff. He was a captain in the British liaison section. He was an idle, ineffectual, hard-drinking young man at that time. But I liked him. And twice I was able to cover up for him when he made the nonsense, as we used to say.
He was under an obligation to you as long ago as that?
Yes, and it's always been the same. After the war, in 45, 46, we were involved in a business enterprise in the Mediterranean.
Smuggling gold?
This is off the record.
Yes.
How did you know?
I remember it being cited as one of the traditional Pole Corps occupations. Buying sovereigns in Italy for £4 and selling them in Egypt for 40.
Not quite, but the principle is right.
Or lack of principle.
If you like. But try to imagine what life was like for us then. For most of us, anyway. I myself knew I'd lost everything at home. I'd helped to win a war, but everything I'd fought for was gone. I'd have to start again, from the bottom, in a strange country. So I set about acquiring a little capital, which gave me my start when I came to Britain.
You told me once you never broke the rules.
In those days, everyone broke the rules, or shall I say bent them. Fiddling, black marketeering. But since then, it is true. I've been hard in business. Some people say cruel. But I have never even bent the rules.
How did Charles Tunney get involved in this gold business?
Greed, I think. I'm wanting to keep up with the Polacks. But he made a nonsense again, and again I had to cover up for him.
And when you left the service and came back to England, you kept in touch?
Yes, but not closely. I went to Scotland first, then I married Annie, then I was working.
And he never offered to help?
No, I wouldn't have accepted anyway. I wanted to work for myself. You can't imagine how hard I used to work in those days.
For money? For power?
For both, I suppose. And for pride. While I was building my own empire, Charles was letting his decay.
And so once again you had to step in and save him?
Perhaps I shouldn't have done it. Perhaps I should have let him sink. Gratitude is too big a burden for ordinary men. It turns sour. But I did think he had mellowed with age and put all that behind him.
And what about his son?
Ah, young Jim. Yeah. There may well be hatred there. Certainly there is arrogance. The fifth generation of Tunnies, growing up to frustration and humiliation, expecting to inherit the imperial throne, only to find that damn Polak sitting there.
Yes, I'll go along with that.
Why, Joe, what is all this? Are you telling me it was the Tunnies who tipped you off?
Off the record, they did more than that. They set the whole thing up 3 years ago when they planted Schiller in Geneva. And then when they thought they'd got you hooked, they presented me with the evidence.
Evidence of what? They've bungled it again. Another nonsense.
Are you sure?
Of course. And he was careless in taking on Schiller. Beyond that, neither of us have put a foot wrong.
Not even by bending the rules, just a little?
Ah, I knew nothing of what was happening. That fool Bellingham is for it, no doubt, and Ricards and Schiller if you find him. But what have I done that anyone could possibly hold against me?
Well, he doesn't know.
What?
That he's got a bank account in Geneva.
He must. Did you actually ask him?
There was no necessity.
But how can someone open an account in his name without his signature?
Well, that's easy enough. He signs his name 1,000 times a day at Tunney's. It's easy enough to take a tracing and then give his address as care of Cade, Geneva. They've got him sewn up good and proper.
Inspector Gamble's office? Yes. Yes, that fits. Thanks, I'll tell him. They've identified the typewriter that wrote that anonymous letter.
Jim Tunney's?
A typewriter in his office. Oh, and by the way, there never was an advertisement in the Times.
Well, now we know it all.
Enough for a conviction?
Dicey, look. Let's get hold of that girl again.
Unity.
Yeah. A little persuasion, and I think she'll rat on them. A full statement from her might do the trick.
Are you sure you want it?
I've got no choice.
You could still drop it for lack of evidence.
No.
Well, then the Tunnies will have got away with framing Pastek.
I hope that's some consolation to them when they're doing time.
If Pastek could prove he didn't know about that bank account,
He can't.
then he's finished.
Now, he's been finished before. He can start again.
At his age,
Look, there are £150,000 in 3 private accounts in Geneva, which, as you say, belong to the refugees. Now, if we don't prove fraud or embezzlement, then it'll never be released to them. Get hold of that girl. Come in. Ah, Miss Chatham.
What's it all about, Inspector?
Sit down.
I've told you everything I know.
Now then, let me tell you something. But before I do, I must warn you that you are not obliged to say anything, but anything that you do say may be taken down in writing and given in evidence.
What do you mean?
Isn't it clear? I'm cautioning you as I'm obliged to do by law.
But why? Are you charging me with something?
That will no doubt follow.
What am I supposed to have done?
Shall we say conspiring to defraud the Christian assistance for the displaced in Europe?
Me?
You, with others. Miss Chatham, I know what was done, how it was done, and why it was done. And the charge against you personally will depend entirely on how deeply you were involved.
I only did what I was told.
What you were paid to do?
Yes.
Then I suggest the best way you can help yourself is by making a full statement of everything you know.
What do you want me to tell you?
How did you get this statement out of her? Shouldn't I ask?
It was voluntary, sir.
Uh-huh.
What now, sir?
Well, it's all wrapped up, isn't it? I send the evidence to the DPP and ask for warrants. I'm afraid we haven't enough to pull in Charles Tunney. We have James and the girl on conspiring to defraud, and the other 3 on evading currency regulations and conspiring to steal the charity's funds.
I don't suppose you'd believe me, sir, if I told you that Pastek didn't know what they were doing with his money.
And if I did, what do you expect me to do about it?
Pull in Bellingham and Ricards and drop the case against Pastek, sir.
You know I can't do that. On this evidence, he's in it up to his neck.
Yes. Well, I just had to ask, sir.
I shouldn't have pushed you into this gamble. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. Well, a good counsel might get you off.
Not a hope.
Or perhaps it'll just be a whacking great fine.
If it was only evading the currency laws.
Well, at worst, it won't be a long sentence.
Now, stop feeling guilty, John. I'm owed a sentence anyway for gold smuggling in 45.
You'll have to resign from Tunney's board.
From all my boards and this club.
Stefan.
Ah, my old friend.
You fool. I warned you they'd get you someday.
You did, and for once you were right. Now, come, let's have a drink, eh? And talk of other things, eh?
I'm sorry, Pastek. If there's anything I can do...
You could take over my job on Tunney's board. You could force Charles to resign. You could even change the name of the firm. But right now, you can have a last drink with me before I go into the wilderness of the accused on bail. Champagne, I think, eh? And then I must say goodbye. Annie is waiting for me.
She knows?
Yes, she knows. Poor Annie. She will suffer more than anyone. But she'll still be waiting when I come out, and we'll still have a lot of good years ahead of us, eh? Now, come along, come along. Where's that champagne?